Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Matt's Mindset Monday. We're on season 2, and I'm super excited for our conversation today. And I have an absolutely amazing guest, Miss Valerie Roberts, and we're going to talk about etiquette and social etiquette and personal. And one of the things that me and my wife were talking about this, I was sharing this with her earlier, is, in today's day and age of instant gratification and social media, it's amazing how needed this is in today's society. And for me, it's really, it boils down to manners. And I'm excited to have somebody who I can learn from, because I know I could improve in terms of my overall etiquette, is just like all the rest of us could. And joining us today, I have Valerie Roberts, who is the owner and founder of the Good Manners Club. And she's also a published author as well as a public speaker. But I'm going to turn it over to her and let her tell you exactly what her company does and why it's so needed in today's society.
Hi, I am Valerie Roberts. I'm Kentucky's etiquette lady. So what I do is have a wide range of ages that I teach. I go into school systems, I go into colleges and businesses and teach etiquette. So I teach dining etiquette, which is a very popular class of mine. And I also teach social skills and business etiquette. So I do this in the form of like some assemblies. Sometimes I've hosted assemblies as Kentucky's etiquette lady with the character and the hat and the gloves. And the kids love that. But I've noticed too that even whenever I go into businesses and teach adults, they love it too. They want the character, they want the hat and the gloves and the character there and in Kentucky. So that's what I do. I have a lot of fun with it. I'm able to travel and teach people all over of all ages. It's really a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I love the hat and the outfit. And when we first connected together and we were talking about doing this podcast, the name didn't quite ring a bell until I pulled up your social media profile. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh yeah, I know exactly who that is. Yes. So I love that. That's a great way to use that branding and that recognition behind it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let's dive right in and let's just talk about what is etiquette? What is it in your mind? What is it and why is it so important?
Well, etiquette is actually a French word, and it's a French word meaning ticket. So that's the literal meaning of etiquette. So if you ever go to France, which I was able and lucky enough to go to France about 5 years ago, you'll see etiquette everywhere. And it's not social skills. It's where you buy your ticket. It's where you buy your ticket for the metro. It's where you buy your ticket for the show. It's where you buy your ticket for the bus, because it literally means ticket in French. So there's a history behind the word that made it what it is to us today, which is a set of social skills. And it is actually from King Louis XIV. He wanted his kingdom to be equalized. He wanted everyone in his kingdom to have a certain set of social skills and to present themselves a certain way. So what he did was he made a pocket-sized reference for them in a form of a ticket that had an elaborate list of rules printed on there so that they can keep it in their pocket and refer to it in certain situations of how they should act and how they should represent themselves. So that's, and what I love about the story and the history behind etiquette, it's gotten misconstrued throughout history, but it is a social equalizer, not a social divider, which is very important. It's important for all of us to come up to the same level of confidence, of consideration, and of knowledge, so that there's not the haves and the have-nots. We all are haves. We all are considerate. And that, certainly is going to help you out in the long run.
Absolutely. And I did not know that, where the word came from and the meaning. I totally understand what you're saying about bringing everybody up to the same level. And I had never heard it that way before, but it makes a lot of sense. And so you had mentioned earlier about doing how we're eating at the dinner table, that etiquette, and then business and social. Is it same guidelines for everything, or does it kind of vary based on what you're doing?
I think it's definitely going to vary for what you're doing. You know, if you're going out fishing on a fishing boat, then, you know, sometimes we don't have to act as proper, right? You know, but if you're going into a networking situation, you need to have a plan set in place. So for sure, it's different. You don't always have to be on pins and needles. You don't always have to be, you know, concerned about, you know, your posture and how you're looking and all that. There are definitely times when you can just relax. And I really appreciate those times whenever I can relax, especially doing what I do. But I take a lot of opportunities to practice, you know, and you do have to take those opportunities to practice, or I did. I had to take those opportunities to practice. So when I'm eating at home, I still practice continental style. I still, you know, hold myself to a certain level as if I would be eating in public. So there's certain things that I definitely do. But as far as, you know, social skills, you know, you can go fishing and not have to worry about your posture.
Yeah, and as soon as you said posture, like I could see myself like picking up a little bit. It's just great reminders, and
it's a great reminder.
Yeah, absolutely. So, why do you think it's necessary, especially in today's society?
Well, I mean, it's not necessary everywhere, but it is certainly necessary in business situations. It is certainly necessary in networking situations. You have to think about your image and what you're putting out there, because you have to think about what, you know, what people want from you to do business with you. There has to be some type of camaraderie and trust that is built there. And it's not going to be built on rudeness. It is going to be built on having good manners and being a good person to them, and building that trust and building that relationship. So it's definitely necessary in those situations.
And you know, for in person, especially, you know, the manners and the way we portray ourselves online, what I see when I meet, because I meet with a lot of business people, is it's not necessarily the way it is in real life. So have you, and this is not something we're prepared for, I'm just kind of curious, have you had to change anything that you teach? Like, for example, is there now Zoom etiquette class, or is that something maybe coming in the future?
Oh, absolutely. I wrote a Zoom etiquette article that was published in the Messenger Inquirer over the pandemic. So there's definitely etiquette to Zoom or to social media in general. You know, you want to be able to put your best foot forward online. You want to use your social media almost like an online portfolio of your work, of your volunteerism, of, you know, the good things that you're doing. Put that out there, put your best foot forward online so that people see what you're doing. Then again, you're networking. You know, as a business person, you're constantly networking, whether that's online, whether that's going to the gas station. You know, you've always got your business cards, you're always doing your networking. So there's etiquette to everything. It's endless.
And as a business owner, I can tell you that, you know, I started selling real estate 12 years ago, and social media was around back then, but 70% of my business came directly from relationships, what I call my sphere of influence. And that's shifted so much. And that now, you know, somewhere around 40% of our business is now coming from online, whether it be somebody who knows us on Facebook or Instagram and TikTok and Twitter or LinkedIn. There's so many different avenues to put yourself out there to the world. And, you know, it is, I love what you said, it's networking. It's just networking online instead of in person, and putting your best foot forward and making sure that you display who you are is, I think, in a positive and a kind manner, is crucial, because people want to do business with people who are similar to them. So the more that you talk about, if I'm involved in the community and somebody else is passionate about the community, I have connected with them in some way, even if it's just subconsciously. So I love that you brought that up, and that you're ever evolving, you know, your skill set on what you're teaching the world as well. So let's go with let's say that somebody is not familiar with etiquette, other than what this is the first time they're really hearing about it. What would you say were 3 ways to kind of get started on the journey of having proper etiquette?
Well, it's funny that you asked that, because in the program that I teach for social etiquette, I actually teach a method called PEP. All of the methods that I teach and all the programs that I teach, I wrote myself. So this method is called PEP, P-E-P. And it's 3 of kind of the most important things. If you can remember PEP, going into a social situation or going into a networking situation, it's going to help you out a lot. So let me tell you what PEP is. PEP is, the first P in PEP is posture, that we talked about. If you can change your posture going into a social situation, not only is it going to, show confidence to other people, but it literally changes the waves in your brain so that you feel more confident yourself. The E in PEP is eye contact. Eye contact is extremely crucial for gaining that trust and camaraderie in people. It makes you seem trustworthy and dependable. Eye contact is so important. The last P in PEP is using proper English, which, you don't have to be so rigid with it. Now, I teach, don't say words like in your sentences. If that's something that you do, you need to practice at home. Don't say words like in your sentences. If you do, you need to practice at home. That's not saying that if you say you're just done for, but definitely practice at home. Go out to those situations, those social situations, and practice your conversation skills. So proper English, saying things like putting yourself last in a sentence instead of saying, me and somebody went here, to put yourself last in a situation. So just very basic English. If you don't have the basic skills of English, it doesn't make you seem trustworthy or dependable. And people aren't going to listen to what you have to say if you don't even have the basic skills of proper English.
As a way countryer sounding person than I actually am, I fully understand what you're saying there. And it's something that I've had to, but all joking aside, that's something I've had to work a lot at. And I just said, by the way, I just caught myself doing it. So
we all do. We all do.
Yeah. And so it's definitely something that I think we can all improve on. And it's something that when it's conscious, like you're thinking about it, the better you can deliver. And I agree, because I attend a lot of trainings and listen to a lot of TED Talks and things like that. And there's been times that I've lost the speaker, like I lost interest due to the way that they were talking, and it just didn't connect with me, or didn't keep my attention longer. I was having to think too much about what they were saying instead of focusing on the content itself. So I think that's a really good point to make. And if you saw me looking down, I was writing down and making notes as well, so that I can improve.
Yeah.
And then you'd mentioned something about, and we talked about this in the beginning, we didn't really go into depth. You have your academy, and I saw your 4-day academy that you have, but then there's a couple of different, I'm going to use the word, I guess, it's not clubs, it's more of academies. So there's women and then a men's side. Can you talk a little bit about that real quick?
Yes, I have a heels academy for young ladies. They can bring their high heels, and we'll learn how to walk properly in their heels. We'll learn different sitting positions. And that academy is along with social skills, practices, conversation skills, and dining skills. So all of that is in that 4-day academy. It's intense. They learn a lot, but we have a lot of fun.
And that's the main key, is to always have fun with it. And then for the gentlemen out there, there's an academy for them as well. Is that correct? Mm-hmm.
Yes, they bring the bow ties and their ties. We'll learn how to tie a tie, and we'll learn how to tie a bow tie properly. I believe also there's a skincare, in that class too. So there's grooming, there's etiquette to grooming and how how you're putting yourself forward. So that's definitely covered in that academy, along with the social skills and the dining skills.
Are there any basic things that are covered, regardless of gender, that are included in your academies that, everybody should know about?
Absolutely. There's basics to everything. So we could say a basic table manner would be to put your napkin in your lap, or a basic social skill would be handshaking, so there's definitely basics to everything in etiquette. And then, we work our way up to some more, intense training that's not as basic, that's much more skilled, where students and clients can really learn how to kind of outshine the competition. You're going to be put, taken up a notch a little bit, so, and not only, it helps to know what to do. It helps to have those skills and really know what to do. Not only, for everybody else, but for yourself. It's also going to encourage you, now that you're doing it right, and you're doing the right thing. It makes you want to put yourself out there more, so you're not going to be turning down as many social situations because you're, I don't know, I'm kind of scared and I don't know who's going to be there and this and this and that. Now you have a protocol in place, and you're going to know what to do, and you're going to be ready to use your new skills that you've learned, which is really cool.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I know a lot of times when I'm speaking to people, and the biggest hindrance, if you will, of going out in social situation, like we're talking business meeting, is not knowing the proper way to act. What happens if I get asked this, or what happens if I don't construct myself in a certain way? And I think that's the benefit and the value that you bring is teaching those little things. Like I'll never forget, it just sticks out of my mind. One time I was eating dinner with my grandparents, and I had my elbows on the table. I think I was just sitting something like this, and I remember my grandfather saying, "Hey, you don't ever put your elbows on the table. Put your forearms, just not your elbows." And It's those little things like that. When you build those skills up and you learn the ins and outs of it, you do project yourself more confidently. And when you have that confidence, then that social anxiety might not creep in as much in an unknown or unfamiliar situation. So I absolutely love that. And I think you're spot on with it. What would you say is the most important thing? If you had to narrow it down to just one thing, what is the most important thing in order to have proper etiquette?
It's really hard to narrow it down to one thing, because it's really a tie for me. It would be a tie between consideration, just considering the other person, and confidence. So if I had to choose one, I guess I would have to say consideration. But, confidence is more of kind of it's kind of almost selfish, on our part. And consideration is completely unselfish. So they're two opposite ends of the spectrum here, but they're both, if there's two things about etiquette or, social skills or, anything that you want to call it, those two, wow, they're at the top. They're really important.
Yeah, I would agree with you 100%. And consideration is something that I think has, just in my experience of adulthood, to date myself a little bit, for the last 20 years, it's, people tend to be less considerate now than they have been in the past, just overall, speaking to my experience. And I think that is a reflection of today's society. So, I think now would be a great time to dive into why this is so needed in today's world.
Yeah, I think in society, there's a lot of emphasis on self-help, which has its place. It is important and needed. But we also have to balance that out with consideration. We can't just be selfish. We can be selfish to a certain point, but we have to consider other people. We have to consider our family members. We have to consider our work colleagues. We have to consider everyone. And it's not being, you're not taking anything away from yourself by doing that. You are actually adding to yourself by doing that. How many times have you given to someone, but you get in return that great feeling, so being considerate just goes hand in hand for me with what I've learned is in feeling good about myself. So there's got to be that balance there. And I do think that in our society, we have, it's unbalanced in that perspective. And also people find rudeness funny sometimes. I think there's been like some sitcoms and some shows that have made being rude funny. I'm horrible about if there's a sitcom or, I hate to say it, but, Roseanne, when it was on for a while, but there's certain sitcoms that make bodily functions funny or burping funny or things like that. And I just draw the line with that. I don't even let my kids watch it because I'm like, it's not funny. There's no funniness to it. And we have to really safeguard ourselves and what we allow ourselves to watch and to influence us, because, what's really so funny about that? And then what type of image are we giving off? Do we want to be goofy and silly and be known as that? Or do we want to be known as being professional and having, a professional image? So it's a choice that we all make. But there's definitely better choices that can be made in society right now.
That's a really good point. I believe to a certain extent, we are a product of our environment, meaning that what we're exposed to will lead to the way that we act and the way that we behave. Now, I do believe that anybody can overcome any environment. At the same time, what you said is I never thought about that. Like what we're watching on TV can be a reflection of who we eventually become. It's kind of like you're the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time around. Well, if you spent the most time watching 5 TV shows that did all those things, you would be so much more likely to behave in that mannerism because your brain has been conditioned into this is the way that the world operates. When a lot of times, that's not the case. And especially to your point, in a professional environment, that's definitely not the way that we want to operate and conduct ourselves. So I think that's some really good insight. And I think that's, why it's so important that people take time to learn what you're teaching and to improve their etiquette. And I think the academies that you're running are great ways to get into that, especially for somebody who is maybe new to a professional environment. Maybe they've gone from, like I did. I mean, I worked in management in manufacturing, but I was still in manufacturing. And then I went to business, real estate, right? And there's 2 different ways that you carry yourselves in those 2 different types of environments and meetings. And I think that's why I love the value that you're providing. It's because it gives everybody the opportunity it's to go back to what you said at the beginning, to really level up and to get on the same playing field. So what else do you have coming outside of the academies that you're running? What are some of your future plans?
Well, I'm really excited to have been able to trademark Kentucky's Etiquette Lady. And I was able to trademark the Good Manners Club to give me a bit of an umbrella copyright over my work. Earlier I mentioned that I write my own programs. And so I'm, still in the works of selling those programs and training other etiquette ladies to be just like me. So they would wear the hats and the gloves, and they would teach my programs and, have more confidence coaches and etiquette coaches that I train, so that what I do going in the school system and, going into businesses and colleges, it's just one person. Now we can have many, many different trainings and many different people doing that. And it's only a win-win situation with that.
I love that. Makes it scalable and helps spread it. The more people you have teaching it, the better, more awareness that's out there in our society and in our community. So if somebody was interested in whether becoming, a teacher with you or under you, or attending your academy and just getting started, how would they reach out to you? You have the website, if I remember correctly, the etiquettelady.com, is that correct?
Actually, it's the goodmannersclub.com.
Oh, Good Manners Club. I'm sorry.
Yes, goodmannersclub.com. And then my email is vroberts@thegoodmannersclub.com.
And if you go on your website, I know, just FYI for everybody, hop on there. You can read through and see what the different academies, what they offer and what you can learn. And I think it's just I love what you're doing. Again, I think it's so needed. And I love that you're going into schools. I didn't realize that you were doing that. And the earlier that we can teach these types of things, the better off that I think people will be. So keep doing what you're doing. And I know me and my wife have talked about you and your academy, and we just absolutely love everything you're doing. So thank you so much for doing that to society. And once again, give them the website and the ways to reach you one more time. So I think you'll have a lot of people reach out to you.
Thank you. I appreciate that so much. Yes.
Yeah. And what was the website one more time? Just so everybody has it.
thegoodmannersclub.com. And my email is vroberts@thegoodmannersclub.com.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I wrote down, I'm not kidding, I wrote pages and notes on things. So I'm definitely going to start to work on my etiquette and making myself better. And we'll definitely be reaching out to you soon in the future.
Thank you. I appreciate your time. So good.
Thanks. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.